Wait, there was a question pending by the court as to whether she's represented by counsel or not. Can we get the answer to that question? I had a request for a closed hearing, and now...
I'm very concerned. I feel like there's been undue influence in the case behind the scenes in plaintiff's counsel's
Based
office.
on what?
Behind the scenes in plaintiff's counsel's office.
And set it for an evidentiary.
My understanding is plaintiff himself called Anthem Forensics and asked them not to publish the report, not to send it to the judge's chambers. Is that true, Dad?
No,
that occurred after the parties made an agreement.
Yeah, we signed the decree on...
That was after the decree was signed.
We
From Anthem Forensics, would the court like to see it?
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
You know something, Judge? If Anthony found anything, maybe that would be relevant. Anthony's report...
Jennifer, your client filed an affidavit on April 4th, 2016, swearing that his gross monthly income was $15,000.
Right. Did you look at the asterisk that says how that calculation was made?
Yes, Jennifer, and I made a finding that day that it was over $20,000.
Right, because
he lied.
Well, hold on. What did he lie about? The discrepancy was...
I'm gonna deal with this counsel right here. I'm not going to have you swoop in and change the whole dynamic of this case, all right? If you want to supervise Mr. Levitt, you can, but I'm going to deal with these people because it's already enough of a quagmire, and I don't think you have any right to come in and change the dynamic. So if you want to say something regarding the case, then honestly, file something, because right now I'm going to deal with these people. They have enough problems. There's enough ethical problems here. Don't add to the problems.
Okay, how, just with all due respect... I am the principal of the firm that...
You've never appeared in the case. Never appeared in the case. These guys are pointing the fingers at each other, and I'm trying to resolve that problem and get to the merits of this thing. My understanding is this wife has been pressured to sign a decree.
Ask her.
That has no spousal support and no piece of a business. Where this husband, after 14 plus years, is currently earning an annual net between $163,489 and $172,595, and she gets no piece of the business and no spousal support. Correct? That's what my understanding is. Is that the decree you had her sign?
Your Honor,
if that's not an ethical problem, I don't know what is.
That actually does not accurately reflects the entirety of the agreement, no. It does not take into account the debt that is being taken on by husband. It does not take into account the obligations that are being assumed by husband. It does not take into account her earning capability. It does not take into account the attorney fees, the expert fees that were had to incurred that this court already indicated would be divided or reassessed at the time of trial.
Well, I hope it's all laid out really well for the court to take a look at, because I have some real concerns about it. And the court is charged with making sure that justice is done and that it's fair.
I couldn't agree with that more, Your Honor. And that's
I will be
what
checking
we're
that
for.
very closely. So make sure if it's not completely within the four corners of that document, that I have something describing how that deal was made, because I won't be signing it unless I can see that.
Then why don't we go ahead and schedule it for a prove-up so that both parties can testify as to exactly how the terms of the agreement came on. Because I never am going to submit a decree where there's going to be any question as to the validity of the decree. If you have any concerns about that, schedule it. Well,
to me, this is not a case where there would be no spousal support. No way. Not a case where there'd be no peace.
Have you heard the evidence in the case?
I've been reading this stuff. I'm the one who ordered a forensic accounting, which your firm poo-pooed for over a year and didn't get one done, saying, I said, if needed, even though the order was clear, it was ordered. Ordered. Okay?
Can I
talk about ethical problems, that is an ethical problem.
I take any challenges to our ethics very, very seriously. So if there's going to be
if you want to point fingers over here,
I was in the middle of a sentence.
The ethical problems in this case lie on this side of the table. That's where they lie.
Okay.
Your client lied on his FDF. Your client did not do a forensic accounting when it was clearly ordered. I had to basically order it more than one time. He did not want to disclose his income. That's what happened.
Let's do this. The question on the table was, is she represented by counsel? We were gonna
Jennifer,
address
I'm the judge, and in a moment I'm going to ask you to leave. I'm going to take care of this hearing, all right? You're not going to come here and waylay anything today. I'm going to deal with these people, and you're not going to waylay anything. Unless you have something new to add, I'm going to ask you to sit down. Do you have something new to add today?
I do have one question I'd like the court to disclose. Is there any relationship between the court and Mr. Schneider that should be disclosed on the
No.
record?
I have no social relationship with
that
Mr. Schneider.
have even the appearance of impropriety.
Absolutely
in-
not. Absolutely not. I've only seen Mr. Schneider in court, just like I've seen you and Mr. That's it.
I appreciate the disclosure.
I just find this entire thing to be ridiculous. And your firm does this a lot, attacks other lawyers and try to get the facts of the case and the substantive issues and the merits of the case mixed up with other behavior of the lawyers.
What is the basis for that statement?
I'm not going to mention other cases like you guys do,
How many-
attaching
how many-
something from another client to this case.
How
That's
many-
also unethical,
How
in my
many
view.
cases? How many cases has that occurred in that you're referring to? One that you ruled in my favor because there was unethical conduct on the other side, correct?
No,
Is there anything other
not
than
one,
that?
and I'm not going to bring them all up. I'm just saying I find it to be a pattern for you and your firm. And I'm not going to sanction it here. I'm not going to allow it to happen when I'm asking them, just let it all go and let's get focused on what needs to happen in this case, which is looking at the merits of the case for a change and moving toward what needs to happen, making it fair, not wearing her down to the point where she just lets it all go and says, I don't need a piece of the business. I don't need a piece of any spousal support. This is not a case that she should have nothing. Honestly.
The legislature and the Nevada Supreme Court put certain rules into place for a reason. We never file anything without a legal basis. We gave you the legal citations. It's NRS 7.085 or 065, whatever it was. The case law is all set forth in there. We have not asked for anything that our legislature and our Supreme Court have not specifically authorized us to ask for in exactly these circumstances. Those rules and those statutes were put into place for exactly
What are
this
you
type of
talking
reason.
about?
Okay? You're complaining that we filed a motion for sanctions based on misconduct, and you're saying that that's somehow unethical on our part. That's what Nevada law says we should do.
Jennifer,
under these circumstances.
if there were going to be sanctions about something that really mattered right now, your client should be sanctioned, all right? That's what I took them back there to talk about. If anything was going to be weighed in the balance of why this case has been delayed or unnecessarily caused excess litigation, it was because of your client's behavior.
How is that possible? Your Honor, you appointed
I have
Jeff
made those
Nash-
findings earlier in the case.
I'm not aware of that.
No, because you haven't been involved, except maybe in the background, apparently.
There was a joint. There was an order that was submitted without us having the opportunity to look at it.
You're right
okay?
now multiplying these proceedings. These guys know what's going on.
Okay, you know what? You're going to make allegations, just for the record.
You're taking up time because you're trying to come up to speed on a case.
Then no, I'm not trying to come up to speed on the case. Let me just make my record, and then I will sit down and I will be quiet. Prior to the beginning of this hearing, Mr. London and Mr. Schneider were called in the back for a private conversation with you. I specifically asked A for that conversation to take place on the record. My request was denied. I then asked if I could participate in the conversation. I was specifically told that I am not permitted to have any participation in this
Between the
conversation.
two of them and me.
Some conversation took place where I would like, if the court would indulge, explain exactly what it is the message was that Mr. was supposed to deliver to me, because it's not exactly clear as to what that message was.
I can go through and rule on these motions, but my ruling is not going to be favorable to his client. It's going to be findings regarding who has caused the excess delays and caused the litigation to cost more money and multiply the proceedings is going to be the plaintiff.
We could set that
And
for
that the
evidentiary
plaintiff,
proceedings.
and that the plaintiff, no, that you're going to do that to your client? I gave them a practical solution. I said, you can just withdraw all this stuff, get focused back on the merits, and sit down and take a look at, now that you have this forensic accounting that came in after apparently she signed a decree without representation, and see whether that's the fair deal. And look at it, whether or not that's what she really should be doing. That is what I told them to do. Think about that. I said, go out and talk to Jennifer. If that's your, she's the owner of your firm, that's your supervisor. Explain to her, this is what I've given you a choice of. If you want me to hear these motions, I will. I've spent a lot of time with this file. I have no problem, and this is what I'm going to rule. If you want that ruling, I'll make it. Or you can just withdraw everything and focus on getting it done, getting them divorced based on the merits of the case, not pressuring this girl until she doesn't have a lawyer anymore, which I presume is between the two of them, the husband and the wife, mostly.
Well, because I'm making my record, but because of the allegations and the conclusions that have been made by the court, my personal preference is we set this for testimony. If there's going to be a stipulated decree or not, I want testimony on the record, because I'm not going to allow conclusions to be made when there's been no witnesses on the stand. We have not had the opportunity to present any evidence. We were prepared to do that last time, and for things that should have been addressed on cross-examination when it was scheduled for trial. This case was scheduled for trial. We showed up with an expert. Okay? We showed up with an expert ready to testify.
Done, Your Honor. That's why the trial was continued before it was.
Oh, you mean when your client failed to follow my orders that day?
From the joint expert who everybody has said we would make no changes to that expert report? Yeah. Other than the kids' cell phone bills. That was the big. That was
all of Exhibit 2 means nothing to the forensic. I mean, honestly, Jennifer, I don't read the report the way you read it. Okay.
Really? Let's see.
Your client plays fast and loose with his personal and business expenses.
Exhibit 2 says that he plays fast and loose. Where does it say
I'm
that?
saying that. Bottom line.
Great. Let's set it. We're going to be here for the evidentiary proceeding.
Your Honor.
I'll decide that, Jennifer. You're not the judge.
It's on.
Run if that's what you want to do.
It's on
You're
calendar.
going to be taken out of here if you continue with this kind of behavior. So please sit down.